Say hi. I think we're on. I thought I saw this. Yeah,
Can I inquire whether we're on the
we
air?
are. He just gave me the signal.
He did.
Yes.
Very good.
Because I saw the thing flip with the names.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to the fun show here
There you go.
at Big TV. I'm at a loss of where my cameras are. I'm totally disconcerted on things. What you might notice is that there's only two of us here tonight. And don't worry, that's no adverse news. Michael is celebrating the Passover season with
Yes.
a large contingent of his family
Which is
and
nice.
friends. So he's having a good time. So Susan Harrington and Arch O'Reilly are here tonight, and we're going to see whether we can entertain you
Yes.
while you're there.
Speaking of Passover,
Yes.
Passover and Easter are close this year, but sometimes they aren't.
Yeah, it began on Good Friday.
Yeah, but what used to get me is, and I don't know if I've said this before, why is it they show the Ten Commandments every Easter?
And they also, this year I noticed, were running King of Kings back to back to back.
Oh, okay.
On some,
But I mean, they show
channel.
they show the Ten Commandments around Easter, and I'm going, okay, maybe I don't know my Bible like I thought I did. Not that I'm some huge theologian, but now thanks to Billy Crystal, I can't watch their Ten Commandments. So
Well, it
doesn't
would
matter.
make a lot more sense if they linked it to Passover.
Right, but they don't.
Because it does show Passover in any case.
I mean, this year it made sense.
Yeah.
But in other years it
How
doesn't.
many hundred years before the fact was that?
And I've said they're going, well, it's about the Bible. I mean, yeah, but
Right,
this is Easter.
right.
This
They'll
was
have
pre
to make
that.
a movie about the Garden of Eden. Have they ever made a movie about Adam and Eve?
I don't think so.
I can't remember any movie about Adam and Eve. Anyway, so here we are. We were just discussing before we came on that I actually stopped in at the Stop and Shop on my way over here, and I had been in a great dilemma, which I even discussed at my Easter dinner, that they were advertising some really good bargains on things that I could well stock up on, and non-perishable items, and I really wanted to take advantage of the sale,
Yeah.
but I was thinking, what I put on a disguise and sneak into the store. So I got home and heard that the strike was settled, and I was very happy about it. But I don't know what was happening when they were out on strike. They must have been pretending to be open, because there's not a lot in that store. It looks like a Florida supermarket when a hurricane is predicted.
Well, I think the stores were open, but what happened is the deliveries weren't being made because those people wouldn't cross
because
the
they were
line.
union delivery people.
Right. So as things went out, things did not come in.
Of course, one of the dilemmas that the strikers had was that the people they were convincing not to cross their picket line, many, if not most of them, were ending up at non-union stores spending their money. But hopefully it worked out for them. I mean, I wonder how Pete Buttigieg ended up walking the picket line with the Stop and Shop
He
workers.
came. Biden came.
Biden came.
And somebody else came, didn't they? Someone else.
I don't know. But
Well, Markey was there. That's my boy. I like him.
Markey, speaking about local politicians, we now have 3 Massachusetts politicians running for president of the United States. And my reaction to the latest one, that is Seth Moulton, is, Seth, if you want to resign from Congress because you're no longer interested in being a congressman, just resign. Don't go through this silly charade of pretending that you think that you can be elected president of the United States.
Well, isn't that what politics is? It's a charade.
Well, much of it is, and then there's a long tradition that people don't want it on their record that they asked people to vote for him from an office and then quit. Now, that never seemed to bother Bill Weld, but
Because he's putting his hat in the ring, too. He has already, hasn't he?
yes,
Yeah.
yes. But he's running on the Republican
Right.
ticket.
Now, see, this
which
is where
cool.
I always thought maybe it was, well, obviously I was wrong, that if you had a seated, I'm not even going to, if you had someone seated in 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue that was of your party, then people didn't run against that person.
Well, frequently they don't, but that's only a convention. I mean, after all, Robert Kennedy was running against a Democratic incumbent, and it certainly can be done, but it's generally not.
So who else is running against the lunatic?
Well, so far only Weld.
Oh, I thought Romney was going to.
Oh no, Romney's not going to jeopardize his seat. Well, maybe he will. I mean, if Donnie John keeps lobbing bombs at Romney, maybe he will. But I mean, he did say that the president's actions were sickening.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I mean, it's a long thing that rather than look like you quit, you run for an office you can't win, and that's the graceful way out. And that's my idea with Seth Moulton, that he's decided he didn't like being in the Congress or something. But another thing that has been going on. Did I say this is the April 22nd edition of the
No,
Fun
I
Show?
don't think you did.
Okay, well now I did.
Okay.
We weren't here last week because it was
Patriots Day.
Patriots Day, which had this terrible weather forecast. It's going to be raining and windy all day. Well, the rain quit at about 9:30 in the morning, and it was a beautiful day.
It was.
In fact, some runners thought it was too warm.
Especially considering the anniversary. Well, the bomb happened exactly
6 years
6 years
ago.
ago.
Yeah.
On that, so.
Ironically, I went over to the Edward Devotion House to greet William Dawes in his commemorative ride, and it turned out that because of the weather forecasts, Dawes and the National Lancers had canceled and didn't show up. And I was saying, does this mean that the British get to march out of Boston unopposed? That didn't seem very brave. Well, another thing that happened in the meantime is that we had a couple of public sessions on this rather peculiar exercise of trying to choose a new name for the Edward Devotion School. And they have a whole bunch of elementary school kids, and I think there's like 4 high school kids who graduated from Devotion who are on this panel. If I remember correctly, 191 people were nominated, and the kids came up with a list of 15 people as their semifinalists.
13 of which make no sense.
Huh?
13 of which make no sense.
Yeah, only, I don't know. I might say that 14 of them make no
Okay.
sense myself. First of all, these kids were at tables, behind a blow-up of their candidate. I don't know if it was their candidate or it was assigned to them, but they were meant to have researched all these people, and kids were advocating. Very nice, pleasant, intelligent young children. But I was asking them about some of the people who were not on their semifinal list, who, not totally, but rather perhaps in a major way, white folks. And what bothered me is they didn't seem to have even bothered to research the white folks.
Okay.
The school department, the town, insists that the kids were not told that their nominees had to be people of color. But they had 191 things, and 14 of their 15 nominees are people of color.
I still just can't get over the fact that they're changing the name of the school. I mean, it's an absolute done deal. They're not going to.
Oh no, it's a done deal. It's not even up for
Discussion.
for
or debate.
discussion. In any case, my fact is that every school in this town, with one exception, is named after a Brookline-born, Brookline-active civic leader who had something to do with making the schools in Brookline. We don't name schools for outsiders. We don't have a George Washington school or an Abraham Lincoln school or a Martin Luther King school. For that matter, we don't even have a John F. Kennedy school, and he went to the public schools in Brookline. He went to Devotion.
Which was 3 streets away.
Yeah. It was his local school. He only went for 2 years.
He went there more than
than
Sojourner Truth did.
More than anybody here. And I personally had nominated a former superintendent, Claverly, who's, a really sort of a pivotal person in the history of Brookline schools. I nominated a former principal of Devotion School who was principal for 40 years of the school. I nominated another principal of Devotion School who was principal for slightly in excess of 25 years. And I couldn't find a kid behind those tables who recognized any of those names. So it appears to me that they were just dispensed with on the simple check mark,
Yeah.
Not black, you're gone, right? Now, they're not all black here. Crispus Attucks leads the list. He was only half African American, half Native American. There are 2 Native Americans on here, Massasoit, which a case can be made, probably more if you happen to be in Plymouth or Carver or somewhere. And interestingly enough, Metacomet, who, if you don't recognize the name, Metacomet is better known as Prince Philip. And King Philip.
Yeah, I was going to say I thought it was King.
King Philip. King Philip's War. And that suggestion is exactly comparable to suggesting that you name a Brookline school after Yasser Arafat.
Yeah.
Because King Philip's intention was to kill dead every single European in North America. Now, you can argue that he had plenty of good reasons.
Yeah.
And it was not terribly irrational. After all, these people were taking his land. They were treating his people as second or third class citizens. But the problem is you can say exactly the same things about Yasser Arafat. Here's the major problem. Only 3 of these 15 people have anything whatsoever to do with Brookline.
Yeah.
And so it's a very strange, sad thing. I must say that our mutual acquaintance or friend Ruth Batson is on the list, which is interesting. Then there's Roland Hayes, who did live in the town. And ironically, there's a Roland Hayes School in Boston.
Yeah.
But I can't quite figure out, is the Roland Hayes School in Boston, is it sort of like a department in another school?
I think so. It has something to do with, obviously, with music.
It's music, the Roland Hayes School of Music, but it seems to be like school within a school or something kind of thing. But I have a little bit of problem about naming an elementary school for a notorious adulterer.
Yeah.
So it's a sad situation, in my opinion, what's going on. But we'll see. Something will happen. They're making progress. So The one school I can't tell you who it's named for is the Heath School.
Yeah.
Because the Heath School is named because it's on Heath Street. And I have not found anyone in this town who can tell you who Heath Street is named after. So you have things. I mean, here we are, we're renaming this school because Edward Devotion, after 147 years of being the Edward Devotion School, somebody discovered that Edward Devotion owned a slave whose name was Isaac. And I only say that because once they've renamed the school, you will never hear about Isaac again.
Yeah.
Because what we're doing is effectively eliminating history instead of making any attempt to do it. On the other hand, we have Sewell Street, Sewell Avenue. We have Boylston Street. Mr. Boylston was famous for introducing smallpox vaccination into colonial America, which he was able to do because he experimented on his hundreds of slaves that he owned. And Mr. Sewell not only owned a bunch of slaves, he operated continuously 2 slave ships, making trips back and forth. But you know why they're not going to suggest we rename those streets? Because everybody on the street would have to get a new website, new stationery, new this, new that. It would cost them a lot of money. So welcome to...
Google Maps would lose its mind.
Yes, right. So welcome to hypocrisy.
Yes.
Right. So what's new at your end there, Susan?
Oh, I'm trying to think. I don't know if I've seen you. I went to see a production of Chicago.
A local community?
Well, down in Weymouth, which was interesting. And I have a friend that came with me. So it's so funny because he'll pick up little things that I don't see because, of course, I'm watching something else.
Yeah.
Or he'll ask me about certain things, and I'll say, well, in this play, that this, that, and the other happened. But a Brookline resident who was very active in community theater named Bill Dosher, he passed away this past December, and he said he did not want a funeral. He wanted a party.
Okay.
So they had a huge party this past Saturday for him at the Footlight Club in Jamaica Plain. And there were people who turned out from his past, from like the past, not just 10, 15, 20, but 45 years. It was interesting. And some of us got to tell stories, and I was able to, and I said, I wasn't going to say anything. And then I said, well, I do want to say something. So I had made a comment on how when we did Sweeney Todd, which is one of my favorites.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I love Sweeney. I think it's just because of these two or three songs in it that I love. I said to him, Bill, you cast, after they had cast the show, we had 150 people audition for this show. It was amazing.
Wow, I mentioned Sweeney to people and they give me blank looks.
Yeah. So 150 people showed up over 2 days to audition for this show. I'm sorry, but when we did Into the Woods, we did Into the Woods, we had about almost 100-something people.
Now, this was at Footlight?
This was the Footlight Club. We did Sweeney Todd a while ago, and we did Into the Woods.
Okay.
So we did Into the Woods, and if it was Into the Woods, we had 150 people. So I said to him, I had a question. He says, yeah, after the show was cast, I said, you cast Derek Jackson. Yeah. I said, as Milky White. So he says, yeah. I said, you cast a black man
to play Milky White.
To play an all-white female animal. And he said, yeah. And I said, we trying to be funny? And he says, no. I said, so was that intentional? He says, no. He says, but you know what? I'm going to tell people that. They asked me. And what was kind of cool about it was, not the fact that it was a man, but because you had this African-American with this all-white costume on, you could see his facial expressions better. So every time, and he had no lines, so every time they would talk about killing the cow or doing something, he'd make this face, and you definitely could see it to the back of the house. So, and there was some people going,
I think that's cool.
Yeah.
That was, what's her name, Peters, right? On Broadway.
Yeah, she did it. She was one of the people who did it, and because Joanna Gleason, from the guy who did Let's Make a Deal, Monty Hall. Yeah. His daughter, Joanna Gleason, she was in it. She played the bakers, and Chip Zien played the baker.
I saw it on Broadway with what's her name, Roberta Peters.
That's it. No, Roberta Peters is the opera singer.
Oh no,
this is I know who you mean. I can see
Yeah.
her face because
Yeah.
she has her little pretty
Little
lips
tiny
and
mouth.
she has little
Yeah, real little tiny
Yeah.
mouth. Yeah, and I saw. Well, I did Sweeney Todd with June Havoc
Okay.
and the Road Company.
And who was? And she was
She
she was
played
Mrs.
the
Lovett.
lead.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And June was a very interesting character. If you don't know who June Havoc was, folks, she was Baby June in Gypsy. She's Gypsy Rose Lee's little sister.
Little sister.
Yeah. So, she was funny. She accidentally got me once singing with the, YMCA guys,
Oh, the Village People.
the Village People. Yeah. This guy singing with the Village People. You know what we were singing? It was a Christmas blessing of the animals at her house.
Oh.
In the thing, and she wanted to hear Adeste Fidelis in Latin.
Oh. Okay.
So they rounded up the 6 guys there who knew
Knew
Adeste Fidelis in Latin. And on the way back to the house, my sister says to me, "You know who you were singing with?" And I thought it was the local realtor and
Yeah.
the barber. And no, those are the Village People. So
Well, they're doing Sweeney up in Burlington, so I'm going to go see that next month. And it's the same time because I'm co-producing Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. So it's a night that my show isn't playing. I get to sneak up to Burlington from Arlington and watch and see.
okay, you say it has a couple of your favorite songs in it. Which are those?
Oh, Pretty Women. And
My favorite is Have a Little Priest.
that's it. Have a Little Priest. The song about, and the other one is Nothing's Gonna Harm You.
Yeah, except that I'm going to slash your throat.
Yeah. Well, Toby is singing it, and he's not the one who slashes the throats. Toby is at first singing it to Mrs. Lovett, and then Mrs. Lovett sings it back to him.
Well, when we were doing this in Rochester,
Okay.
New York, at the penultimate moment when we drop the wife down through the chute into
Okay.
the pie shop,
When Lucy goes down into the, okay.
for some reason, somehow or other, she pointed her toes and snapped both ankles on the bottom.
Not good.
And she was wonderful. This woman was wonderful. But the way it is in the theater, right? We ghouls are back in there ripping her costume off to put it on a standby to go out on the conveyor belt, you know. We're sorry you're hurt. Give me that costume. You know?
Well, like, when we went to nationals one year, this was the year we were. It's funny. It's the year we were in Rochester. The Manatee Players. No, maybe it was another. Anyway, the Manatee Players took Sweeney Todd to festival. So we said, Sweeney Todd in an hour? Not going to happen. No way is this going to happen. So they do a thing, in nationals where it's 10 minutes to set up, 60 minutes to perform, and 10 minutes to break down. And you've got to, get the essence of the whole piece within this hour. So there were people standing there. It was the funniest thing, especially trying to watch them set this thing up in 10 minutes and break it down in 10 minutes with their arms crossed with these attitudes like, this isn't going to happen. But we just stood there mesmerized. And Rick Kirby made it happen. I mean, he got the biggest applause for his setup and his
For the
breakdown.
crew.
Yeah.
For the crew.
Then it's-
What did we used to have at the NETC? Was it 15, 20 minutes or something?
No,
like
well,
that?
the
And if you went over even by 30 seconds, you were
1
disqualified.
second.
Yeah.
The NETC has the regionals.
Yeah.
And that goes by. They follow AACT, which is 10,
In the
60,
old days,
10.
we did this at Brandeis
Yeah.
and Spingold all the time.
Right,
Yeah.
but and EMAC used to do it at Spring Gold,
Yeah.
but we had for some reason a special dispensation where our setup was 5, our breakdown was 5, and our performance was 45. Yes,
Really?
we did Equus. We did Equus in 45. Actually, we did Equus in 44 minutes 59 seconds.
I did. I can't remember the show I did over there. I'm playing a Roman centurion in the thing, and rehearsing the setup and the running time because
Yeah.
we were running a little long. Made a mistake setting the thing up. set collapsed on me in the thing, and I broke my thumb.
Ooh.
And I went to get a cast on the broken thumb. It was broken right down in here. And then 10 minutes before we went on, I soaked the cast off. And then I went back to the doctor the next morning and said, it fell off. We do crazy things
Yes.
in the theater, you know.
We have, when we have the setups, it's so funny. We had a kid who he had never done festival before, and we were doing Raisin in the Sun, and it took us like 8 minutes and 12 seconds to set up. The whole thing set up, from go to set up and stop.
Yeah.
Stop, 8:12. And then the breakdown was like 4 or 5 minutes. And so this kid goes, well, how come it was so much faster? He says, I don't understand. I said, because we did it, and if we break something, we don't care. We were just throwing things in boxes just to get it, boom, get it off.
It's
So we
always-
didn't have to remember where anything was because we
So-
weren't going to do it again.
It's always easier to take them
Yeah.
down. Here's the thing. Our devoted president, he had an interesting Easter, right? First of all, he insisted that nobody disobeys his orders in spite
Okay.
of the Mueller report, saying the only thing that kept him from obstructing justice was that the people he ordered to obstruct justice wouldn't do it. I mean, I'm sure that's why he fired his Homeland Security person. I'm sure she told him
Yeah.
that what he was telling her to do was illegal,
illegal.
and so that's why he fired
And
her.
I'm not doing it.
He has 4 temporary cabinet secretaries at the moment. That's a pretty good chunk of your cabinet.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, well, we all know that if this guy's mouth or his thumbs are moving, he's lying. I mean, it's a given. But he decided to lie to the children at the Easter egg roll.
Oh, my gosh.
He comes out at the Easter egg roll and he decides that it's an appropriate place to tell these children who want to roll their Easter eggs that my wall's being built. Even as we speak, the wall's being built. This guy is crazy. Crazy. All right, so that's
The Celtics swept.
the Celtics swept, which was kind of surprising, and I guess tonight is Game 7 for the Bruins.
Oh, okay.
Is it tonight or tomorrow night?
Oh, so
something
what's
like
that?
that.
So they were I didn't realize. I thought they were down. So it's 3-3.
No, yeah, it's tied. It's tied. They won yesterday as
Oh,
well.
okay.
So, and even the Red Sox won a game.
Yeah.
They have the worst record in baseball. So
Yeah.
this is, from worst to first.
Yeah.
No, this is first
First
to
to worst.
worst. So it would be sad. And I guess my last comment on the thing is that were you aware that Chelsea Manning is back in jail?
No.
For some reason, she refused to testify at a grand jury investigating WikiLeaks. And in spite of the fact that Obama pardoned her,
Yeah.
I don't know why, and I can't understand why she would refuse to go talk,
Yeah.
since she's not only was she pardoned, which takes her out of jeopardy, but they also offered her immunity for her testimony, and she refused to testify. So she's in jail until she decides to testify.
So they got so she's in jail, and the WikiLeaks guy is in jail.
Yeah, that was kind of fun. Julian Assange being led out in handcuffs is second on my bucket list to Donald Trump being led out in handcuffs. So, ladies and gentlemen, that will do it for this week. We hope to see you next week with our full company. Have a pleasant time. Listen to Susan play the keyboard. Good night and good luck. See you same time, same station next week.
Okay.